It's great to be here in Bangalore, in my hometown, speaking about Polkadot. ಹೌದು ನಾನು ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ಹುಡುಗಾನೆ. And today I will be talking about light clients and how they solve the problem of last mile decentralization and how Polkadot is leading the competition in this space, right? So let's get started. Let's take a step back. So, just a second, sorry. Yeah, so let's get started. Let's take a step back and look at how Web2 systems work, right? So usually, these systems have like a server-client architecture. There's a centralized server, and the clients or users connect to it. So this could be your like favorite airline ticketing system or social media platform, whatever, right? But there's a problem here, one of many problems actually, is that there is a single point of failure. So the question is, what does it take to build an unstoppable service or app, right? Which does not have any downtime. And Web3 comes into picture here. It eliminates single points of failure. So you can think of like a blockchain network, which is secure and decentralized. It has all the good properties of being like Byzantine, fault-tolerant, or pooled security kind of baked into the network itself, right? But if you think of how a user interacts with a blockchain network, for example, over here you have like a user who is interacting with like a user interface or wallet, right? Think of like Polkadot.js or a wallet app. But since he is not running a node locally himself, there is no direct way for him to interact with the network. So usually there is like a third-party RPC node. RPC stands for Remote Procedure Calls. So there's a third-party node which takes the requests from the user and pushes it onto the network, fetches whatever the state the network has, and feeds it back to the user, right? But this introduces a layer of trust and centralization, which is not really necessary. So if you really think of it, blockchains are decentralized, but blockchain user interfaces are still centralized. What I mean here is, on one hand, there is validators and infrastructure. So these are like decentralized peer-to-peer network of servers, but they require like technical knowledge to participate in. And on the other side are end users. So these are not necessarily tech-savvy. All they want is convenience. They just want to open up an app and get connected to the blockchain network, right? So what is the issue with centralization here? So one of the main issues is that because of the central entity, there is possibility of censorship. So this RPC node can censor the interaction that you are having with the network, right? The other is reliability. So again, there's like a single point of failure. And the third is front running. This is a bit interesting problem, and I would like to explain here, that since the central entity interacts with a large set of users, so it has a lot more information about what kind of like transactions are happening in the network. So it can place a few self-interest transactions before sending on the user transactions and kind of make money out of this, right? So there are already a lot of such cases. So for example, Polygon network, one of the RPC gateways for Polygon network was compromised, and it kind of like took down a large part of the network. The other is like Infura suffered an outage, and that's why MetaMask and a lot of like Ethereum apps were down. And at one point, Infura was having more than 70% of the traffic on the Ethereum network. Right? So the question is, can the user interface with the blockchain, can it interact directly with the blockchain in a trustless manner, right? And this is exactly where light clients come into the picture. Over here, if the user has a light client embedded within his UI, then he can directly interact with the network, because the light client passively follows the network. I'll try to explain this with a light client in action, right? So on the left, you can see there's a UI running a light client, and on the right is the Polkadot network. So in the first phase, the light client syncs with the network, and this syncing takes seconds. And then the user can ask a query to the network. So for example, what is the balance in a particular account X? The network responds to the user, but along with the response, it also gives a proof attached with the response. And then the light client can independently verify the proof using the already synced data. So if you notice here, in the previous setup with the RPC nodes, there was no way for the user to independently verify that what he is receiving is matches what is already there in the network, right? So to summarize, there are like 3 ways of interacting with blockchain networks. One of them is user-controlled. The issue here is that it's very inconvenient because you have to run a full node locally, a full node of the blockchain locally, but it's decentralized and secure. The other option is going through a third-party RPC node. Here, it's centralized and insecure, maybe insecure, but it's very convenient. And the other option is, of course, light clients, which is kind of takes the best of both worlds, where it is decentralized and secure because it passively follows the network. But on the other hand, it's also very convenient because it can run on low-resource environments like mobile apps, browser extensions, and so on, right? So now that we have established that light clients are cool and are the need of the hour, let's see what Polkadot and Substrate has to offer, right? So how can you build unstoppable dApps with Substrate? So Substrate has kind of has been designed keeping in mind light clients as first-class citizens. So along with like validators, full nodes, light clients in the design phase were treated with equal importance. So this was in one of the main points when designing Polkadot network from using the bottom-up approach, right? So this leads to like a secure, scalable, and an actual decentralization. So there are 2 components for like Substrate light clients. So one is small dot. So this is the core light client engine that you can think of, which is written in Rust and compiles to like a WASM light node. If you're interested, I would definitely recommend you to check out this. So this is right now being funded by the Polkadot Treasury, this project. The other is a Substrate Connect. So Substrate Connect kind of encapsulates small dot. So it's like a JavaScript wrapper and a browser extension that uses small dot to connect with the blockchain. And this is mainly geared for ease of use and like developer experience, so that it's easy for developers from other teams to integrate it within their systems, right? So over here, you can see Substrate Connect in action. So if you go to polkadot.js.org, you can right now connect to Polkadot network through a light client. So if you just set your option over here to light client, then you will be interacting with the network through a light client running on your browser and not on a third party, not through a third party node. So let's talk about adoption of light clients in our ecosystem, right? So this is a tweet by Gav, who's just talking about how amazing and fast light clients are, and how they, in some situations, even outperform RPC nodes. And there has been a lot of interest and adoption by the community as well. So A-Star, maybe you can talk to Hoon more about this, but A-Star has been supporting light clients. It's one of the parachains that is supporting, and a lot more are onboarding onto this pretty soon. And a few wallets as well. For example, Talisman has integration with light clients. So when you're interacting through Talisman, you use light clients. So what is the future of light clients, right? So there's been some fantastic research being done at the Web3 Foundation for how light client systems will look in the upcoming near future. So this is a paper that has been recently published by the team. And it uses a clever way of mixing two crypto primitives, that is BLS signatures and snarks, for blazing fast light clients. I mean, so this work deserves a talk on its own, but I would want to just briefly mention that this is going to be crucial for developing accountable and trustless bridges between Polkadot and other ecosystems like Ethereum. And regarding like the specifications for the light client, we have a very clear technical specification for light clients that the team is working on. And this is mainly to support other teams, other implementation teams who want to write their own light clients in other languages like C++ or Java. And we are already working with a few teams on such projects. Finally, these two phrases, right? Less trust and more truth. These are kind of the guiding principles for shaping the Polkadot network. And I would want to conclude by saying that light clients are a step towards achieving this. Thank you.